Hey guys, welcome in to College SportsCast presented by Stadium Rant. And this is week 23, the Big Fuss Show.
Can I please have your attention?
There's all a commotion around here.
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.
All right, guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. We are here 20 minutes or so after a win by Kentucky tonight in Knoxville. So we're kind of throwing this together after the show. We normally do these at 8 o'clock Central Time, but the game was on.
Brad's going to have to start. Brad's going to have to start doing these early because he's half asleep whenever these games are over.
Well, I thought tonight I was actually going to have a heart attack, but you know.
I got a quick question real quick while we jump into this. Actually, I want to make a statement. Breaking news, Brad. They just went to the monitor again.
Huh.
For the 1,000th time. Like,
Good grief.
At some point, the monitor going back and forth, I think there needs to be challenges, like you said.
Well, we actually going to talk a little bit in one of these things about that. We could bring this back up during one of these topics that I got tonight, because I think there is a solution that could be had here if they do this. But before we jump into things, if you're on Facebook with us, we appreciate you. I just want you guys to know that you can help support us by sending stars, or
send me some stars. I ain't got any stars. I ain't got none.
Or you can subscribe to our page. That does give you a subscribers page and a chat.
Hey, Josh.
For you guys.
Hey, Josh, send me some stars. Quit giving Brad all the stars, man. I'm just kidding. Josh probably asleep by now.
No. He was asking about being on the show. I need to send it to him if he's not here, to be honest with you. Hopefully he'll get that followers that I just did. So he'll jump on, because I just put that in there too. So, all right, guys, big win. It's right after the game. We're going to do a short little segment here about the Kentucky win tonight. The big news, I mean, we were on with Corey Price last night. Right after we ended, news broke that Butler was going to be out and Carr was questionable. And then this afternoon, this evening, before the game, we hear that Carr is going to try to play. Unfortunately, guys, he played 90 seconds and never got to come back into the game. So basically, we were without Butler and Carr in this game.
The reason I asked about that is because me and Mom was watching, and Carr come in, it seemed like for like a minute, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then you never seen him again. He was done. So I'm guessing he was wanting to try to limit him a little bit.
So here's the deal. I heard he warmed up. He felt good, and he was going to try to give it a go. But then he set out. He didn't start, and I figure he got tight. That's what happens with the back.
That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I got a key stat here for you, Brad. That's going to absolutely blow your mind. So Tennessee at Auburn shot 4 of 22, okay? 4 of 22, right?
Yeah, they shot 45 three-pointers tonight.
11 of 45.
45. They shot 5 three-pointers tonight.
And only made 11 of those.
24.4%. Kentucky was 12 of 24.
Yeah. Some of them was off offensive rebounds too. A few of them. They had a couple offensive rebounds that got kicked back out. I think Milicic had a couple. Gainey had one. I think.
Don't even get me started on offensive rebounds. We gave up like 20 of them. 18, 19, 20 of them, something like that.
You want to know what really shocked me tonight, though, Brad? It wasn't Kentucky's offensive performance. It was the Tennessee defensive performance. They never took Kentucky
78 points tonight by the Cats in the win is actually the most points given up by this Tennessee team all year.
Yeah, it just seemed like that every time Tennessee made a run, it seemed like Kentucky had an answer for it. Tennessee would cut it to maybe 4 or 5. Kentucky would push it back out to 7 or.
Yeah, but also at the same time, it seemed like we struggled and let them hang around for a large portion of this game, and I was frustrated. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't. I was, because I felt like that offensively, at times we played well enough to win this game by 15 points. I just don't think we fumbled the ball. We turned it over way too many times. The ball would hit us. Kobe Bria at the end of this game, I was cussing. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah,
I really was cussing.
He made some dumb stuff.
No, it was the one play. The ball come off with about 30 seconds or 20 seconds to go, hit him right square in the hands, and he falls.
Well, and then there was another play, I think maybe 5 minutes to go. Him and Almanor couldn't get on track, and Almanor threw the ball to Bray.
These guys seem to do the most boneheaded stuff sometimes, and it just like, wow. But listen, I'm not going to fuss. I'm not trying to fuss. I'm just being honest with you guys. This team, they fumble. Amari Williams will come down the lane, and a ball will hit him in both hands, and he will fumble it out of bounds.
Yeah.
Now he gets a lot of rebounds, and I'm not going to say he doesn't. He played good tonight, but Lord have mercy, I bet you there was 2 or 3 times he could have grabbed the ball and just fumbles it out of bounds, fumbles it to the other team, whatever.
And I'll say this too. We talked about this the other night, Brad. Ainsley Almanor is
I'm telling you
at an elite level right now.
I think Almanor is one of the better players on this team. I really do.
And he hit some big shots tonight. I think there was one right there before halftime that he was kind of
especially in the first half. I think he hit one in the second. But, man, he played really well tonight, I thought.
Yeah, and like I said, Tennessee was gaining steam on one of those plays, and he come in and he hit a shot to put them back up too. Just some. I want to
throw out a quick question: is Jackson Robinson better when he plays the point?
I think he is at times. You want to know why I think he is?
Sure that I think he plays better when he plays the point.
You want to know why I think he is? Because me and Dad had this conversation before you come on. He keeps the ball away from the defender. You know, where he holds the ball away from the backside of the defender, where the ball can't get stolen from him. He keeps the ball away, and he finds a way to maneuver through his offense. Butler is different, though. He likes to drive and do the straight line drives.
I just feel like he's playing better with the ball in his hands.
And sometimes the ball gets away from Butler because they take the ball away from him. A lot of times they don't do that with Jackson when he has the ball in his hands.
When he can create and go around some screens, he's hitting shots. He's getting it to his teammates. It seems like he's playing better when he's at the point.
And I just want to say something real quick before we kind of move on.
And Amari Williams, point guard, I got to bring that up.
Yeah. Harlan County, stand up tonight, y'all. Trent Noah.
5 big points. Played
absolutely outstanding.
Off the bench.
Now, he didn't have a lot of points. He
had 5 big points off the bench.
He had 5 big
points. Actually.
He had a few rebounds. He went after a loose ball. I'm going to be honest with you, Brad. I know he's a freshman, But Trent Noah should be getting some spot minutes here every once in a blue moon.
I think he should be getting a few more spot minutes, to be honest.
Right, because he hit a big three.
Even when Butler and Carr come back, I think so.
What was it? Put them up 10, put them up double digits there.
Yeah,
early in the second half. And I want to say this from the other aspect of it, from the Tennessee side of things. Tennessee's now entering a stretch where they have to play Kentucky. They just lost to Auburn and Kentucky, and now they welcome Florida into town.
Again.
And they're on their first 2-game losing streak of the year.
Florida already beat them by 30.
This is gut check time for Tennessee. And I would have thought I would be saying that.
Is Ziegler going to be okay? I mean, he seemed like he was okay.
I think he's fine. I think he was he wasn't himself in that second half. There was times where he kind of looked like he was limping a little bit.
Yeah, but I thought towards the end of the second half, the last 10 minutes, I thought he played a lot better.
He did. He distributed the ball really well and was trying to get guys open. Here's the thing. Tennessee couldn't hit. Tennessee couldn't shoot.
Milicic or whatever his name is was probably the best.
7 quad 1 wins, Clyde, not 6.
Yep, that was number 7.
I think he's got 7 now.
Yep.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, Clyde, that was number 7. I think that's the second most in the country behind Auburn, who has 11 quad 1 wins, which is insane, to be honest with you. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Amari Williams. I was kind of wondering 10 minutes ago, why is Amari Williams bringing the ball down the floor and taking, and playing point, basically, initiating offense and everything else?
I'm going to tell you.
Here, wait a second.
That's Pope's offense.
Hang on. No, that's not Pope's offense. Pope's offense has the big at the top, and you pass it to him, and he initiates the offense, not bringing it up the floor, which is what Williams was doing. But wait a second.
He's done it 2 or 3 times.
I'm not done. Wait a second. The reason – I figured it out. The reason why he was doing that is Jackson Robinson tweaked a hamstring in this game. He was on the sideline, was out, and they were stretching it. He come back in. He played through it. But Jackson Robinson tweaked a hamstring in this game and played through it to help us win. And the reason why Williams was bringing the ball up the floor is because he was the next option. I'm telling you the truth. That's exactly what happened tonight. And it's pretty amazing that your 7-footer is your next option to bring the ball up the floor and initiate the offense, to be quite honest.
And another thing that kind of demonstrated this Kentucky team was Almond Ormbre, the fact that, the depth that they possess.
I sure wish they could hit more free throws, though.
That's the key thing. And now, as we move on, Brad, we got Arkansas. Cal Perry struggling right now. Razorbacks are 12-7.
So this is a big win before that Arkansas.
I think they've dropped 6
to help get our psyche back and bravado back. This is a big win. Before that Arkansas.
I think they've dropped 6 of 7. And I said it in one of my posts. I think a win like this is better going into that game than a loss. You even said it this week. You didn't want to have a loss going into that Arkansas game.
No,
because you felt like it was kind of it was a momentum thing.
Yeah.
Saturday night's Tilton Lexington. It's set for 9:00. Game day's not there. I know a lot of people was griping.
I don't even like game day. Besides Billis, I will give Billis a little credit, and I know most people won't. But Billis is okay. The rest of them, I don't even like game.
I'm going to tell you,
they need different dudes on there.
I'm going to say this real quick.
Come talk to me, because I'll be on game day. Be better than them dudes.
I'm going to say this real quick, and we'll move on, Brad. The atmosphere Saturday night was going to be electric no matter what, right? It was going to be fun, exciting. Now you turn that up another level because now they beat Tennessee. And I think the atmosphere is going to be even more charged than it was going into the Tennessee game now, because you just knocked off a top 10 team on the road. Now you got a struggling Arkansas team in. You could go in this game looking for blood, more or less.
Yeah.
And I think now there's a lot more momentum on this side of the things. And I'm just going to be honest with you, and I know fans don't want to hear this, but Calipari's going to have them ready to play, folks. They're not going to be intimidated.
It'll be a weird game, and I talked about this last night with Corey. Everybody's talking about Calipari coming back, but you guys got to realize we got 3 players that played here that wore the blue and white.
DJ Wagner.
That's coming back to
Big
Rupp
Z,
Arena in the opposing team's. I mean, I don't care who it is. In the opposing team's jersey, all 3 of them coming back with one team to try to beat us.
Well, and
it's
then
going to be a weird night.
And then you got the other aspect of it where you got some of the recruits that committed to you.
Yeah.
Carter Knox, Boogie Flan, which Boogie Flan's out with an injury for the rest of the year. But then the other, Billy Richmond was another one.
I'd always rather beat Tennessee. I don't give a crap, Clyde.
but big win tonight. Kentucky picks up a quad 1A win. And if folks don't know what those are, I'll explain. Brad can explain. They're elite wins.
The top 15.
They're top 15 wins out of the top 30
in the net rankings.
Now, if you beat a team like Louisville, that's just a quad 1 win. But when you beat a team that's in the top 15, it's labeled as a quad 1A win.
Chris, preach, brother, preach. I was going off, but I'm happy for the win, so I'm not going to – I've already said I was cussing Kobe Bria at the end.
Now, Clyde, I'm going to have to disagree with you over here, brother. He's saying DJ, Big Z, and Thiero are traitors. I'm not going to say that, Clyde, because –
I'm not going to say that either because, I mean, their coach left.
They played for us. We need to be a little gracious when it comes to stuff like this.
Listen, I know for sure that Thiero spoke very highly of Kentucky. And I think Big Z would too. Honestly, I think even DJ Wagner would, to be quite honest.
I got a quick funny quote.
It's going to be a weird night having them all coming in. It's not just Calipari. This is going to be a weird night on Saturday night, in my opinion.
He made a quote on his Monday Collins show real quick, Brad. He said, I got bazooka hoes going right through me. Calipari was talking about, and I thought that's pretty funny. He's like, this ain't nothing. He said, it's going to be.
He said he's going to have more on Saturday night. Bazooka hoes. Yeah.
I mean, he said, we're going to get booed. I might get booed. He said, that's just part of it. And it's just, he says the nature of the game, the way it sets up.
Adu is a really great dude. I was in front of him at the SEC tip-off. I got to speak with him, ask some questions. He really spoke well about Kentucky.
I do too.
And really did not really want to leave. But I'm going to be honest with you. He done what his dad wanted him to do. That's what he did.
Feel the same way, Shane. He said the only one I had a grudge at is Big Z. The only reason why I had a kind of a personal feeling is because of that billboard thing that they done for him. They done all that work, and then he kind of bolts for Ark. I think that was part of the reason why a lot of fans got upset at Z, because a lot of the fans fought for that kid all year long, and then when Cal leaves, he just bolts and didn't even give Pope an opportunity. I don't think. And to me, that's
I think that's
kind of how I felt about it a little bit. So.
All right, guys, we're going to move on. That's the first 20 minutes of the show. We're going to try to keep this kind of short tonight since we got a real late start. But this is the topic, John, that I was talking about, that we could kind of include those reviews and stuff in. So there's some talk that the CFP playoffs are discussing a centralized headquarters for replays during the CFP playoffs. first, John, what do you think of that idea?
I think it's a good thing.
So supposedly it's going to be a 2-person like centralized office with officials in there, and they're not going to have any relations not to the conference.
Mhm.
Like so they're supposed to be neutral and neutralized officials.
And it's been used by the NFL.
Yeah. And it's a 2-person deal. Now, first of all, I really like this idea, John, to be honest with you. For myself, I think it would speed things up. We were talking about the speed of things, having to go to the monitor in the basketball all the time, and I'll get to that. Here's my thing. Right now, this is being talked about just for the college football playoff games. I'm going to be honest with you, John. I think this should be implemented in all collegiate sports.
I do. I think it should even go to the high school level, because there's certain things in high school that's, key plays that happen in some of these big moments and some of these state tournaments and even at high school basketball, football and basketball. That's what I'm saying. And then you would have the coaches. I think there was a part in there where you would have the coaches challenge. That was another topic on the agenda for it.
So my thing here, John, is for real. If you've got 2 people in a room that can instantly start looking at replays, you don't have to go to a monitor. You don't have to sit and watch 15 replays. You don't have to. The whole concept of this would speed up this whole process. And it looks to me like you could, they could just buzz in or something and be like, okay, this call needs changed.
Well, and then you wouldn't have the whole media calling everything out through X or reporters going after, certain things. You would have an opportunity to change a play or fix a play that is not right.
I don't have a problem, Chris, with coaches having a challenge. I actually kind of like that the coaches could have a challenge.
I tell you,
I think it's if you win the challenge, you get to keep it. If you lose the challenge, then you don't get to keep it. You get
you would have a neutral
in basketball.
And then on top of that, Brad, you would have a neutral person oversighting it, somebody that's not involved.
Absolutely. That's non-affiliated with the schools, the conference, all that.
That's my biggest thing. You wouldn't have an SEC guy looking at just SEC. It would be like a Big Ten guy with the SEC officiating crew, and they would be able to make a call without them having to deem a call right or wrong.
I like this idea. I wanted to talk about it and kind of bring it up because I actually think that this should be implemented in all collegiate sports. And I'm saying baseball replays for college. I'm talking about women's basketball. I'm talking about the men's basketball game. I mean, let's be honest. There are plays. It happens in volleyball. There are plays that they have to go to the monitor, and there's a timeout, and it takes up all this time and everything else.
Well, Brad, I'll bring up another point.
Ridiculous.
I'll bring up another point. There was a play. I don't know if everybody saw it, but it was in the Peach Bowl where fans was all tore all to pieces. A Texas back hit a Arizona State receiver.
It was game 20, Clyde.
The play was not flagged for targeting. They went to Gene Steratore, the analyst. He does the NFL and college football. He's the analyst in the booth. It meets all the criteria of targeting.
They buzz in and tell them that this is targeting, and you make the call and you go on about the game.
You do, and I think that change. I think this would change a lot of things, and it would allow for a lot more things to be deemed right and have a right call made.
Hell yeah, it makes absolute perfect sense. People are talking about how do you fix officiating. Right here will help a bunch.
Well,
A bunch.
From what I've been told, it's only going to be for the postseason. Now, whether they do that whether they do the regular season, I don't know. That could be
I'm saying for now, but I got a feeling if this works well, we will see this starting to be implemented.
Well, and I read a CBS article today, Brad, where they had discussions about faking injuries. That's another rule that they're going to discuss. Signals used by the defense to confuse the offense. That's another thing. Substitution issue, where you remember the Oregon coach put 12 defenders on the field to force a penalty and run the clock down. That's another issue that they was going to discuss. Listen, there's probably going to be some new rules put in place.
Oh, there's definitely going to be some new rules. I just saw this idea.
There needs to be. I'm still not a big fan of the whole targeting rule.
Well, the whole targeting thing, we've talked about it. It needs to be two different things.
It needs to be fixed.
It needs to be a flag and a 15-yard penalty for like a flag,
that's what I said. The first one,
targeting two.
The first one needs to be a warning. The second one, you do it again, you're out the game. You're out for the first half of the next week. I just think they're the targeting penalty is causing too many issues. When it really boils down to it, because I remember a time, Brad, when dudes just took their helmet off, but the game has changed from because they're trying to protect the athletes, and I get that but some of it has been wussified, like some of these.
But it's
roughing the passer. Some of these roughing the passer penalties.
I think the centralized headquarters with officials could actually help some of that too, because sometimes targeting is called when it clearly is not targeting. And and this is even after review, and then sometimes they go to the monitor and it's clearly targeting. It happened at a Kentucky game, Tennessee game. It's clearly targeting, and and they don't call it.
Well,
even after the monitor.
Another rule that I'm really kind of agitated with is the roughing the passer penalty. I've seen NFL. There was one in particular. I can't remember.
Think it's as bad in college as it is in the NFL.
And there was a play, I think Minnesota Vikings. Was it the Minnesota game? I think
Pansies in the NFL anymore.
Grant knows what I'm talking about. It was a Minnesota Vikings game, and I think a Viking player or somebody hit a guy, and he never even barely touched him. He just took him down.
The NBA
referee caught a flag. I think that that penalty is garbage. That it needs to be rearranged and fixed.
We will. We'll discuss more of that, but I just kind of wanted to hit these. I've got another one here that I want to kind of get to and talk.
I'll let you discuss this because I'm not real familiar with all this right now.
All right. So this past week, the Ivy League has decided that they are going to opt out. There's an opt-out option into this revenue sharing antitrust settlement with the NCAA. And the Ivy League has decided that they are going to opt out of this. Now, what that will mean is this. They are not going to be a part of the NIL revenue sharing. They're not going to be a part of the new scholarship rules that are going in place. And that's big for the Ivy League. They're also not going to have to pay their not employees, but their players. They're also not going to have to pay into the fund of the $2.8 billion because see, what people don't realize is they're having to pay $2.8 billion, and these conferences are going to have to pay that. Well, the Ivy League is opting out. And my thing is this. I'm a little surprised by it because Dartmouth is one of the teams that kind of started all this. If you guys remember, they filed a suit and won to be considered employees last year during the season.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Actually.
It was a big ordeal. Dartmouth was it's kind of a surprise because they kind of triggered some of this, to be honest with you, the Dartmouth players. And now the Ivy League, who includes Dartmouth, is opting out of this revenue sharing thing, meaning they're not going to have to be a part of the $2.8 billion settlement that's a part of this.
My question to you.
My question, John, is this. Should more of these small conferences do the same?
I mean, it's,
because let's be honest, if you're, like I told you today, if you're Marist College and you're playing Division I basketball, do you really want to be a part of having to pay hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars into this settlement, this $2.8 billion settlement? Isn't that going to hurt your league and your school and your program if you're a little school like, I don't know, Austin Peay?
Well, here's
Eastern Kentucky.
Here's my thing. It's placing limits on, roster caps, world of the name, image, and likeness, which is the NIL. The NIL loophole, I think, led to millions for athletes, but they was only from third parties, right, Brad?
Yeah.
So you conference, say, like, I'll give you an example, a conference like the Southland Conference, or let's go even further.
The Big West, or
the Big West. How is that going to affect
and Cal Poly and all them out there, or whatever? Do they really deserve to have to pay into that $2.8 billion settlement?
But how's that going to affect kids that actually do want a scholarship, though? That's my question. And want to get paid for NIL deals that don't necessarily have a big deal to a team like Auburn or Alabama or, Kansas. I think some of that can hurt a few kids that are actually wanting to do it.
Here's part of the deal here with the Ivy League, okay? And if you want to read more on this, I did write an article this week. It is on stadiumrant.com right now, and you can look me up.
Yeah, it's
a College Sports.
It's a good article, by the way.
And I did write an article on this week, so look it up. It'll tell you a little bit more information on this. But the one thing I want to point out here is the Ivy League is not saying that these kids who go play ball for them can't have NIL. They can. Wait a second. They can do it exactly the way they're doing it now through third parties.
Yeah, I get it. But
what they're opting out of is them having to pay the athletes and part of the sharing of this settlement and pay the athletes themselves by the school.
Well, some of that is, things like commercials, brand-based stuff, NIL-related activities. Say, for instance, like an autograph signing, possibly.
I do like that, Clyde.
So I think it's a great thing, but I don't know if some of these other small schools
and conferences. My thing is should more of these small conferences think about doing this and opting out of this thing?
It's a legitimate question to be answered. Because, here's the thing, Brad, you're not going to compete with the SEC, ACC, Big 12, even the AAC.
If your scholarship offers to Marist or wherever, like some small school like that, you're not expecting to go there and get $1 million.
Well, and two, Well, and look at look at the AAC with Memphis. It's growing with them as well. It's gotten bigger over time. Now, Houston did leave that conference. Memphis is pretty much the banger in that league. But at the same time, I think, maybe you try to do it with the small conferences and see what happens. And if it don't work, you can always back out of it. Or
it's an interesting question because it's supposed to start this fall.
Yeah.
So they've got to make a decision over the next few months.
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing. Right,
whether they're going to opt in or opt out of this thing. And the Ivy League is the first conference that has said we're opting out.
Which I get on the other aspect of it too, Brad. They still get endorsement deals and sponsorships. They're still available.
Yep.
But a lot of kids want the pay-for-play stuff. And I know there's not a lot of money at some of these small schools.
The Ivy League itself is a little bit different than some of these other basketball conferences because a lot of people go to the Ivy League for the education. Let's be honest.
Now, you say a team like, let's say, for instance, Princeton, Cornell, teams that have
go to get that degree from Princeton or Cornell or Harvard or Yale.
But when I'm saying a team like Princeton that has been a noteworthy NCAA tournament team, Cornell, Yale, even Columbia's playing better this year. Not sure they'll be in that mix, but they've had a better year this year. But teams that are higher up in the Ivy League, I think, could benefit from this.
Penn has played good at times here and there.
The lower teams like Dartmouth, Brown. Teams of that nature, they're not really going to benefit from a lot of the pay-for-play stuff. When it all boils down to it.
I mean, I guess the biggest surprise here when I started this out, with the Dartmouth stuff that happened last year, it's kind of surprising, really, because they're some of the first schools that actually kind of kicked this off, to be honest, and won in court. All right, I am going to move on, John. This one's a little bit different. So Ohio State is possibly going to lose both offensive and defensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. They are definitely, I think, losing Knowles, the defensive coordinator, to Penn State. I think that's a done deal. But Chip Kelly is being courted by some NFL teams, at least 3, from what I've been told. Jaguars is one of them. The Saints could be one. He's being courted by at least 3, maybe 4 NFL teams as offensive coordinator. My question to you is this. Players tend to jump in the portal a lot when head coaches leave.
Yeah.
Do you think that we're going to get to a point where when you lose big-time coordinators like this, that you're going to see players jump in the portal over coordinators leaving?
Yeah, it happens in places. Ohio State is probably, they're going to have to make a move outside of the program.
Jim Knowles and Chip Kelly are big-time coordinators.
They are. There should be a lot of candidates, Brad, hoping for this job because they're going to return Caleb Downs, a future NFL guy.
Are they going to return Caleb? Caleb Downs went to Ohio State partly because of Jim Knowles.
Well, that's the talk now that he will return. Sonny Styles, and they got a really good defensive back group coming back. But there's some questions. I had some questions even where they won the national championship. There's some questions on the defensive line they needed to kind of iron out. But there's a lot to like about this job, Brad. Ryan Day's doing a really good job with this team. He wins his first championship. He he hit the jackpot.
So you don't think if they lose both of these coordinators, you don't think it's going to affect some of their player personnel?
I don't. I think they can still add guys through the portal, through what they got already, because this is Ohio State, Brad.
It is,
but they're going
you're
to get
losing big time coordinator. Honestly, I don't know in the college game right now who would be bigger offensive and defensive coordinator, to be quite honest.
I think they'll be better. Here's my thing. I think they need to hit the jackpot with the defensive staff hire coordinator. Now, the offense, they got Chip Kelly, which he might leave. But I don't think it would be as big a loss losing Chip Kelly as it would be losing Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles has
Brian
a
Hartman's
really good
been there for a long time. And let's be honest, Brian Hartman could probably step in on the
Jim
offense.
Knowles is he's very creative in how he does things defensively. To me, he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, maybe even in all of football. He's going to have Penn State really, really good on that side of the ball.
Quarterback Hartline's brother, Mike Hartline's brother.
I got another thing that really kind of teed me up. Can I kind of talk about this real quick? They wouldn't let Jim Knowles attend the Ohio State celebration. Okay.
Yeah. It was without.
Which I get from one standpoint, but he coached a lot of those guys. I think he should be able to go and support his players.
Listen, I get it both ways. You're right. He should, but also, John, he's not going to just any school. He's going to one of their main rivals in the Big Ten.
I get it. I do. But I think it should have been handled a little bit better than what it was.
I mean, that's the thing, Pete. People don't like that's the thing with Calipari and these players and stuff. I mean, you don't go to one of your main rivals. I mean, that's just I mean, and Knowles has not been there but a few years, but still, that's a bad PR move, man.
Yeah, there's two parts of it. I agree and don't agree, but it is what it is. It happened. So he's going to have Penn State. He's going to have Penn State rolling on that side of the ball.
I mean, Penn State's good defensively.
Now they do lose. I think Abdul Carter.
Yeah, they're going to lose him.
I think he's going pro. He's a really good player. That's probably going to be.
But they're pretty much known for good defense.
They are.
Anyway.
Always have been. Even going back to the Joe Paterno years.
I just kind of wondered with some of these teams because the portal is wild and it's been open for a few years now. It's absolutely wild.
We call it the Wild Wild West.
And a lot of times you see these players jump in the portal because coaches leave and everything else. Mm-hmm. And it's beginning to, when you see high caliber coaches like this leave that are coordinators, it just makes you wonder, when are we going to start seeing players jump in the portal because coordinators leave?
Well, you're seeing it in basketball with some of these coaches. They move on with their coaches. It's probably going to hit pretty hard in football too. It's not as big in football as it is in basketball. Now, there's some places it is, but basketball, you see it all the time when coaches move and go different places. Like Calipari, for instance, was one. Dusty May from Michigan. He got a few guys from FAU.
Right. But that's the head coach going.
Yeah, but
in football, I'm talking about these are coordinators.
Sometimes there's some
assistants. People go with coordinators because I think it's possible.
I think it's coming.
Yeah. All right. Last topic of the night.
We gotta do the basketball scoreboard. You gotta remember that one.
Yeah, but this is the last topic of the night.
Okay.
And this one, I'm gonna be honest with you. This one's hard for me because I've spent a lot of years really not liking Rick Pitino, and a lot of years where I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
This one's kind of hard for me, but he's got St. John's, who has been just terrible. Let's be honest, for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's already got them in the top 20.
Yep.
If you go back and you look at the resume of Rick Pitino, starts at Boston College,
Providence,
got Providence to a Final Four with Billy the Kid.
Yep.
Came to Kentucky, done what he did at Kentucky over the 7. I think it was 7 years that he was at Kentucky, or 7 or 8 years that he was at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And won a national championship, got to 3 Final Fours, 4 Final Fours. And then he goes to Louisville. He goes to Louisville. Let's be honest, he won a national championship. I don't care if they took it away or not. He won a national championship with Louisville. I'm not in that group that thinks, oh, he took it away, it doesn't count. Well, yeah, it counts.
It counts.
And took them again to the Final Four. He went to Iona, okay, got them to the big dance. And something about the Iona time that people probably don't realize is that a guy by the name of Walter Clayton Jr. played for him at Iona, yep, who happens to be the star right now at Florida.
Yep.
Just to throw that out there. And now he's at St. John's, and he's already got them in the top 20, John.
So what you're wanting to ask me who my top 6 basketball coaches of all time are?
I want to ask you, is Rick Pitino a top 5 coach all time in college basketball?
I do. I think he's top 6. I think he's in there. He might be top 10 because I say that
there's some big names. I mean, you got Dean Smith and Adolph Rupp and Coach K, John Wooden,
Bob Knight.
There's some big names.
Pat Summitt, the women's coach, Gina Auriemma.
Absolutely. As far as women's coaches, she's the
Tom Izzo would be in there. I think at this rate. I'm gonna give you one that's way older than me and you, Fog Allen from Kansas. I think he's at least top.
I mean, honestly, if you go way back, Fog Allen would definitely be one that should be in the top.
He transformed the sport at Kansas. His strategies, the way he laid the groundwork for how the coaches today are.
Henry Ira wasn't too bad.
Jim Calhoun was not bad.
Yeah,
Adolph Rupp would be another one.
The one at Syracuse, Jim Boeheim.
I'm going to give you a name. I'm going to give you a name that most have not talked about in a long time. Is Jerry Tarkanian?
Yeah, Tark was
UNLV was. Yeah, he had some really good UNLV teams. Larry Johnson, Greg Anthony, Stacey Ogman. Who was the one guy that? There was another guy on that UNLV team. Lost train of thought.
Larry Johnson?
No, there was another one that was on that team. It was really, really good. Anderson Hunt.
I said Hunt.
Oh, you said Hunt? Okay.
Yeah.
You had like Moses Scurry. I think you had David Butler on that team that was really, really good. So
I'm just throwing it out there. If you take what he has done, what Pitino has done at different schools, and the accomplishment that he has done over a long period of time at different stops, I'm not sure that we've ever seen anybody do it at different stops. These guys that we're talking about, John Wooden was at UCLA.
John Chaney at Temple.
John Chaney was at Temple the whole time. Bob Knight, yes, he went to Texas Tech, but most of what he really done that was impressive was at Indiana.
Yeah.
Adolph Rupp was at Kentucky. Fog Allen was at Kansas.
Roy Massimino would be one.
Coach K was at Duke. Like most of the time, your all-time greats are at one stop.
I don't think nobody
Pitino's not at one stop, guys.
No. I don't think nobody can put this list together without Lou Carnesecca at St. John's. He made St. John's a force. He was animated, his sweaters. They make deep runs in the tournament. I
didn't like him.
I know you weren't a big fan of him, but I think
I'm not talking about him. John Thompson.
Oh, John Thompson.
I didn't like him, but
he was a heck of a basketball coach.
Yeah.
Now you can go down this list and say a guy like Gene Cady from Purdue was one. Never really won a title, but they had conference championships, made the tournament. He was a very big impact on the game of basketball.
Gene Cady went up against Bobby Knight for a lot of years, and Bobby Knight got the best of him.
Yeah. Pete Carroll would be one from Princeton. He revolutionized the Princeton backdoor offense. People forget about him beating UCLA in that it 96 tournament, I think.
It was in the mid-90s. I'd have to look it up.
Maybe Steve Fisher at Michigan. He's way down the list if you're looking at Dale Brown. Dale Brown from LSU.
Yeah, Dale Brown would be up there.
Dale Brown was a very passionate figure, man.
Yeah.
And most people, he coached Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Jackson, Stanley Roberts.
Yeah.
They had some fun teams with Dale Brown. But Lefty Drizel would be one. Judd Heathcote from Michigan State.
We've named them all, but my question still, is Pitino close to that top 5, top 6?
I think he's close to the top 6 because you look at Pitino, what he's done. Like you said, he went to Providence. He started Boston College, took Kentucky. Most people don't know that. Now, if you're older, like Brad, Kentucky was in the grave when Rick Pitino came to Kentucky.
Yeah, they done everything they could to put Kentucky in the same spot they put SMU in football.
It was in grave status because you had the Sean Kemp incident.
And that's not an exaggeration.
You had the I think, was it Eddie Sutton's son? He was on that team. He was a part of that situation. Yeah. I think Chris Mills was on that team. I think he transferred to Arizona?
Arizona, yeah.
Then they had, what was it? Dale Ellis. Dale Ellis was the other one. Was it him? No, it wasn't. Was it Dale Ellis?
No, it was LaRon Ellis.
LaRon Ellis.
LaRon Ellis.
And guess what Pitino did in his first year? No, not his first year, second year. His second year, he wins the SEC.
Yeah.
With basically
his first year with about 7 players that were Kentucky guys, and the tallest player on the team was Reggie Hansen at 6'7". His first year, they went 500, 14.
The second team, the second year, he won those games. Let's just be honest, with a bunch of Kentucky boys. Richie Farmer,
and then he got Mashburn to come, and
then it kind of flipped. Then you had Rodney Dent, you had Dale Brown.
Yeah, but Mash was the first one.
You had Jamel Martinez. You had Feldhouse. He was before that, though, wasn't he?
The monster Mash is the one that came in and changed it all.
Then you had Tony Delk. Jared Prickett came in. Walter McCarty.
Antoine Walker. Walter McCarty.
Mark Pope. The old coach that just went into Tennessee and won.
Yeah, Pope was one of them.
You had a bunch of those guys. Pitino,
Travis
to
Ford.
get back to my question, Pitino changed that era for Kentucky, okay? He moves on to go to Boston, which it never –
He literally brought Kentucky from the brink of the grave, to be quite honest.
From destruction, basically. And I know a lot of people don't want to give him credit, but the guy deserves some credit for what he did for UK. And I'm going to go as far as saying this, Brad. Now, he moved off to go to the Boston Celtics, which that never really did work out.
I'll even give him some credit for killing off Louisville.
Yeah, well. Louisville kind
I'm
of
sorry. I'm sorry I had to.
Louisville kind of went down after that, but he had some great years with Louisville. You know, we had those teams with Rush
He
Smith,
did. He
Hancock.
did have some really good
What
years.
was the
with
big
Louisville.
boy's name in the middle? Harold. Was it Harold? The big boy plays in the NBA now. Harold, I think. Can't remember his name, but they had some really great teams there as well. Then he went. He kind of went quiet. He kind of went quiet for a while.
He set out a year after all that stuff with Louisville and everything.
Then he went to.
He wound up going to Iona. And he was only at Iona for like 2, maybe 3 years, 2 years, I think.
That.
But he made them a tournament team.
I forgot a key player, Brad. Anthony Epps was another one of those kids.
And he is the one that recruited a guy by the name of Walter Clayton Jr. and played for Rick Pitino at Iona. And he's the one that helped build him into the player that he is.
And I'm going to give you another little key stat that most people don't know. If people don't pay attention, if Rick Pitino had stayed in Lexington,
I think
Kentucky possibly would have had Tracy McGrady.
Oh, there were several of them. I think if Rick Pitino doesn't make the dumb move to go to the NBA because of money and prestige with the Celtics, to be quite honest with you, if you want to really get to the dirt of this topic, I really think Rick Pitino, at the very least, would be top 3 all time.
He would at least had 2 more championships, or maybe even 3.
He would be, if he was still at Kentucky 30 years later, I'm telling you, he would be top 3 all time. No question. No question.
And now he's at St. John's, which he's building a good program there. And, they won tonight. They beat Georgetown. St. John's is a fun team to watch, man. If you haven't paid attention to them, they really get after you on defensive end. They lock you up, Brad, when they play. They're just
that's the way Pitino's always played.
They've always played that way. Now, he's had some good offensive teams where they've, there's a couple of those Louisville teams, Kentucky, the 96 squad with Walker and Dale and Ron Mercer and those guys. But
they only had 10 pros on that team. That's all.
Yeah, basically, at the end of the day, it was sort of like South Carolina right now.
Yeah. I mean, he only had 10 pros on that team.
And he always said his biggest mistake was leaving Kentucky. He'll say it to this day.
Oh yeah, I mean, he said it a dozen times. He said it so many times. I'm sick of hearing it.
Yeah,
because he did leave, and I remember all this crap. And like I said, I have spent the last 15 years despising, 18 years despising this guy, to be honest with you. So it's hard for me to say this, but the truth is, he's one of the best coaches the college game has ever seen, to be honest.
Yes. Yeah. You ready for college basketball scoreboard?
Yeah. I mean, we went through, instead of a top 6, heck, we went through 20 or more.
We went 20 guys. Oh, yeah. Tubby Smith would be in there. I forgot about him. He come in at a time that Kentucky was needing some jolt and done some really good things. Had some good teams, Cliff Hawkins, Eric Daniels, who was some other guys? Gerald Fitch. They had some really, really great teams there. Okay, so moving on to that. Southern Illinois.
We're going to finish up with the scoreboard here for tomorrow.
Southern Illinois beat Valpo 79-75. St. Bonaventure beat Dayton 75-53, Brad. Dayton is going down swiftly.
I never thought I was. Which makes it shocking, actually.
We have an upset in the A10 tonight. St. Louis knocks off VCU 78-69 at
Go
home.
Travis Ford. Oh, I'm sorry. He's not there no more.
Morehead State defeat Southern Indiana 66-65. Akron beat Northern Illinois 80-70. Kent State beat Bowling Green 75-57. Buffalo beat Central Michigan 75-69. Mineville Ohio beat Eastern Michigan 89-80. Toledo beat Ohio 86-83. Western Michigan beat Ball State 74-71. Georgia beat South Carolina 71-60. Who's had it more rougher than South Carolina?
They lose a lot of games by just a few points.
They do. Providence beat Seton Hall 69-67. South Florida beat Rice 69-64. All right now, Brad, here we go. Louisville trounces Wake Forest. Louisville's playing unreal basketball right now.
I wouldn't go that far, Josh, okay? I wouldn't take it that far, all right?
72-59. St. John's beat Georgetown 66-41. Kansas survives at home without DeJuan Harris 91-87 over UCF. UCAF led in this game for the majority of this game up until
They did. I thought they might beat them.
Kentucky beats Tennessee. I know everybody likes to hear that.
Woo!
73. Michigan State throttles Minnesota. Michigan State has won 13 in a row.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it for Tom Izzo.
73-51. Colorado State 79. Air Force 58. Wyoming beats Fresno State in overtime 83-72. Marquette beats Butler 78-69. Currently going, Arizona State leads Colorado 67-64. Georgia Tech about to follow Notre Dame. They're down 4, 66-62. BYU leads Baylor 65-63 with 5 minutes to go. Texas A&M leads Oklahoma by 8, 59-51 with 7 minutes left in the game. That's in A&M. And North Carolina is ahead of Pitt 63-61 with 5 minutes to go. And Cincinnati trails Utah at halftime. That's another team that's kind of behind is Cincinnati. I don't know really what's going on with them. 40-34 at halftime. And San Diego State trails San Jose State 17-10 midway through the first half. And the final late game is Oregon State Gonzaga. You want me to give you the top 25 for tomorrow night?
Sure.
There's a few top 25 games we should talk. Auburn goes to LSU. Houston goes to West Virginia tomorrow night. That could be a little trap game for the Cougars. Wisconsin goes to Maryland. That will be a fun game. Maryland's playing really good. TCU goes to Texas Tech. DePaul goes to UConn, which I think UConn's probably going to get back on the limb again in this game.
Go DePaul.
They had a rough start. They had a good start to the year, and they just kind of.
Well, I tell you what, I would laugh my ass off if DePaul goes in there.
I know
and beats them tomorrow night. It ain't gonna happen. But Lord have mercy, that'd be funny.
The biggest game of the night is in the SEC. Alabama goes to the hump to play Mississippi State. Alabama, you better look out, brother.
Do the humpty hump.
Hump. Do the humpty hump. And then the 9 o'clock game has Texas going to Ole Miss. Texas coming off a very, very unbelievable comeback against A&M in a game that I really thought A&M should have shut the door, and they clearly didn't. No idea how they won that game. So, fun night of basketball. Kentucky gets a win. Everybody's going to sleep good.
Always good when Kentucky can beat Tennessee. That's all I'm going to say.
You want to know what I love about winning games and doing this is now you win a game like that, you can sit back and enjoy the rest of the games all week without wondering if your team's lost.
Yeah, we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to sit back and enjoy some basketball, some games.
Yeah. And then
I'm probably going to go Thursday night to the Alabama-Kentucky game up in Lexington.
Should be a fun night. Yep. Alabama's
So,
pretty good, Brad.
They are.
They've had some
Marcus
lumps
is a good
here the last
player.
couple of weeks, but
It's going to be fun to watch a top 25 team come in.
I got one question for you before we go. What is the response when Calipari walks on that court for the first time?
I think it's going to be a mix. I mean, I know everybody wants to know if he's going to get booed or if he's going to get cheered. I don't think he's going to get cheered. And the reason why I don't think he's going to get – I don't think the whole thing is going to stand up and cheer for Calipari. Not yet. I mean, it's too fresh. On top of that, he's bringing in our players to beat us, to play against us, to beat us. On top of that, I just don't see him. What's that?
What's the coach from Georgetown?
The one now?
I can't. Ed Cooley. Is it another Ed Cooley Providence thing where they boo him out of the arena?
Yeah, I don't think that they will boo him out of the arena. Here's where I think it could get messy inside Rupp Arena Saturday night. If somehow they hang around and the game is tight and they have a chance to beat us at the end, it's going to get rowdy at Rupp. It's going to be rowdy Rupp Saturday night.
Hey, everybody, stay away from the computers. Stay away from the phones.
I'm telling y'all right now, if that happens, we're going to see rowdy Rupp Saturday night.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm telling you. Mark it down.
Did you hear what Josh said? He said, y'all had too much Mountain Dew.
Yeah. I like the bourbon. That's what I like.
Yeah. I don't like – I don't drink anymore, brother.
Kentucky bourbon.
Now, I would – no, I better not. We're on a live broadcast. I would say I would have an honorary one for beating Tennessee, but, I got to show some love to Tennessee. Listen, they played their heart out tonight. And I know people's going to think,
look, I don't like it for Ziegler. I mean, honestly, I don't like that at all.
I know people's going to say, well, Tennessee's not that great. Tennessee just played a rough house game against Auburn. And then they had to come right back home and play Kentucky. That can do some numbers on some guys.
That's not an easy schedule.
It's not.
At Auburn and then get
having
Kentucky
to jump
home.
right back.
And
I'm going to tell you.
Their next game is who?
Florida.
That's crazy.
It's at home, but it's Florida.
So they get 3 top 10, Kentucky.
I read tonight. I think it was at the end of the game. It was a Tennessee guy, I think. He said this is gut check time. He said if Tennessee's going to be a threat, he said they have to win Saturday against Florida.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they lose to Florida, that's going to be 3 straight losses.
Especially at home. This one's at home, right?
Yeah, and I'll say this. If Tennessee, loses to Florida, Tennessee's not getting one of those top seeds.
Top 4.
They'll be a 4 or 5. But what I'm saying, they won't be a 2 or a 1.
I'm saying SEC top 4.
Well, I do too, Joshua. He said, I hope we beat Arkansas by 50, but everybody's going to be on pins and needles in that building.
I don't care if it's 5 or 50. I don't care, to be honest with you. However, I would like to win fairly comfortably. I really don't want to see a 2-point game with 35 seconds to go. Because I'm going to tell you guys right now, Rupp is going to get crazy if that happens.
And what do you describe as crazy?
I'm telling you, if there was a buzzer beater on the wrong side of this game, I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty.
Do you think they would actually throw stuff at some of these players?
I think it'll get rowdy. Yes, sir. I do. I think it'll get ugly and get rowdy. I really do.
Because now all the UK
this
fans
game, I'm telling you, this game needs to be put away We need to be, and I'm not talking about we have to beat them by 50, like Josh just said, but down the stretch, this needs to be a 10 or 15-point game, and we need to put this game away.
Brad has laid the law down tonight.
I'm telling y'all, mark it down. If this could get rowdy rup, I'm telling you, I said it right here on College SportsCast. If it happens, if it's close, and if by some miracle chance, I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty.
You heard it, folks.
Just saying.
From the
you heard
host.
it here. College SportsCast.
Not the co-host, but the host.
The Big Fuss Show. We're going to be big fussing on Saturday night if Rowdy Rupp has to come out.
They're going to have extra security. I wouldn't doubt they do, Josh. He was joking, but I wouldn't doubt they did.
Yeah.
Honestly. I really wouldn't.
I'm telling you, it's going to be bad if Rowdy Rupp has to come out Saturday night.
Yeah. Really bad. Brad, fun show tonight, man.
If y'all see me post Rowdy Rupp, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay.
Fun show tonight, Brad. You had some really great topics tonight. That especially about the Ivy League and Rick Pitino. We went down a rabbit hole of Rick Pitino.
We went down the Wayback Machine.
Yeah. Which Friday night, we're going to do our game day pick'ems. So
yeah.
It'll be exciting. There's some good games this weekend to pick from this weekend.
And we got that Arkansas-Kentucky game. All right, guys.
I'm not going to let my nerves be tore up for sure.
Stadium Rant, appreciate you being a part of us now. That's at the top. And y'all have a good night. We appreciate you guys being on with us and having a little bit of fun. And this has been College SportsCast, the Big Fuss Show. This is week 23 already, season 3.